are exhausted, yet you have done very little today. You feel a heaviness in your limbs, a fog behind your eyes, and a dull ache in the center of your chest. You seek rest, but you do not know what rest is. To you, rest is an escape. It is a pause button you press on your life, hoping that when you unpause it, the difficulties will have vanished. You lie down, but your mind continues to run. You close your eyes, but the images of the day flash brighter than before. You seek silence, but you fill the air with noise, with screens, with voices that are not your own. You are terrified of the silence, because in the silence, you are forced to meet yourself. And so, you are never truly at rest. You are merely waiting, tense, anticipating the next demand, the next crisis, the next moment you must perform. Let us dismantle this confusion. Let us look at what it means to truly do nothing. It is not a matter of the body. A body can be still while the mind is at war. A man can lie on a soft bed, surrounded by every comfort, and yet be suffering the torments of a prisoner on the rack. Why? Because he is enslaved by his own perceptions. He is not resting. He is stewing in regret for the past or trembling in fear of the future. His body is here, but his mind is scattered across time, resolving problems that do not yet exist. This is not rest. This is a slow, grinding destruction of the soul. True rest, the kind that restores the spirit, is a discipline. It is an active state, not a passive collapse. It requires the immense strength to look at the world, to look at your duties, your ambitions, your anxieties, and to say to them, you are external, you do not belong to me, and for this moment, you do not exist. Consider the nature of your fatigue. Is it truly physical? Have you tilled the earth today? Have you carried stones? Have you walked until your legs gave way? Likely not. Your exhaustion is the exhaustion of desire. It is the fatigue of wanting things to be different than they are. Every time you wish that your work was finished when it is not, you spend energy. Every time you wish that a person would speak differently, you spend energy. Every time you fear a future outcome that is not under your control, you bleed your strength. You are tired because you are carrying the weight of the entire world on your shoulders, a world that was never yours to carry. To rest, you must put the weight down. This brings us to the art of doing nothing. In the modern sense, doing nothing is seen as waste. It is seen as laziness. You feel guilty when you are not producing, not consuming, not improving. You feel that every second must be accounted for. But this frantic motion is not virtue. It is merely a symptom of a mind that cannot govern itself. To the Stoic, doing nothing is the profound act of stripping away the unnecessary. It is the removal of the superfluous. It is the cessation of the internal commentary that runs endlessly in your head. Imagine your mind as a glass of muddy water. You are constantly stirring it, trying to clear the mud by shaking the glass, by adding more water, by worrying about the dirt. But the more you stir, the cloudier it becomes. Rest is simply the act of leaving the glass on the table. It is the act of taking your hands off the wheel. When you stop stirring, the mud settles on its own. The water becomes clear. This clarity is what you are actually seeking. Not sleep, but clarity. Not unconsciousness, but peace. But you cannot find this peace if you believe that rest requires external conditions. You tell yourself, I will rest when the weekend comes. I will rest when this project is finished. I will rest when the children are grown, when the house is quiet, when the bank account is full. You are bargaining with fortune. You are placing your peace in the hands of a future that may never arrive. What if the weekend brings a new crisis? What if the project is followed by a harder one? What if the noise never stops? If you wait for the world to be quiet before you find silence, you will never rest, not even in the grave, for you will die full of worry. Rest must be found now, in the midst of the chaos. It must be a fortress you build within yourself, an inner citadel that remains unbreached even when the walls outside are shaking. This requires a shift in judgment. You must stop judging activity as good and stillness as bad. You must stop judging noise as necessary and silence as empty. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. It is full of reason. It is full of the present moment. It is full of the only thing that you actually possess, your own ruling faculty. When you sit and do nothing, really nothing, no phone, no book, no plan, you are reclaiming your sovereignty. You are declaring that you are sufficient. You are declaring that you do not need to be entertained to be whole. You are declaring that you do not need to be productive to be worthy. This is a terrifying declaration for the unfree mind. The unfree mind needs constant validation. It needs to be seen, heard, and approved of. It needs to do in order to be. But you are a rational being. Your worth is not found in your motion, but in your character. And character is formed in the quiet moments of decision, not in the blur of busy work. Observe what happens when you attempt to sit still. The first thing you will notice is the agitation. The body itches to move. The fingers reach for a distraction. The mind throws up a list of tasks you have forgotten. I should be doing this. I forgot to call that person. Watch these thoughts. Do not fight them. Fighting is just another form of noise. Fighting is just another form of doing. Simply watch them rise like bubbles in a pond. Acknowledge them. Here is a thought about work. Here is a feeling of anxiety. Here is the impulse to stand up. And then let them burst. Do not follow them. Do not grab them. Remain seated. Remain the watcher. This is the discipline of perception. You are separating the event, the thought, from your reaction to it. The thought is automatic. It is not under your control. Your reaction, your decision to remain still, is under your control. In this space between the impulse and the action lies your freedom, and in this freedom lies your rest. We often confuse rest with pleasure. We think that to rest is to indulge the senses, to eat rich food, to watch bright lights, to seek excitement. But excitement is the opposite of rest. Excitement is a disturbance of the soul. It raises the pulse. It inflames the passions. It creates a hunger for more. When the excitement fades, you are left more tired than before, because now you are also bored. And boredom is a painful judgment you place upon the present moment. You say, this moment is not enough, and so you suffer. True rest is the acceptance that this moment is exactly as nature intended it to be. It lacks nothing. It requires nothing added to it. When you stop demanding that the moment entertain you, you are free to simply exist within it. Think of the stone lying in the field. It endures the sun and the rain. It does not ask to be moved. It does not ask to be a bird. It is perfectly at rest because it is perfectly in accordance with its nature. You are not a stone. You are a rational being, but your nature too involves an element of stillness. Your reason requires a steady foundation. You cannot build a philosophy on a trembling earth. To do nothing is to stabilize the ground beneath your feet. You must realize that the majority of your doing is merely a defense mechanism. You run to avoid the truth. You work to avoid the question of why you are working. You speak to avoid the echo of your own thoughts. When you stop, the defense falls and the truth enters. This can be painful at first. It burns. The anxieties you have been running from will catch up to you. The grief you have pushed down will rise. The fears you have masked with busyness will stand before you. Good, let them come. You cannot conquer what you refuse to face. You cannot find peace by hiding from the war. Rest is not a hiding place. Rest is the battlefield where you defeat the chaos, not with a sword, but with a gaze. A steady, unblinking, rational gaze. When you look at your monsters in the light of reason, when you sit with them in the silence and do nothing but observe, you will see them for what they are. They are shadows. They have no substance. They cannot hurt you unless you grant them the power to do so. This is the beginning of the work of doing nothing. Consider how you treat your home. You have doors, you have locks. You do not allow strangers to wander into your living room, to shout at you, to rearrange your furniture, to demand your attention. If a stranger walked in and began to scream, you would remove him immediately. You guard your physical space with jealousy. But observe how you treat your mind. It is a house with no doors. It is a public square open to the winds. You allow anything and anyone to enter. A headline from a distant country, a rude comment from a stranger, an advertisement for a product you do not need, a sudden worry about a conversation from 10 years ago. They walk in, uninvited. They trample the quiet of your inner sanctuary. They take up space. They shout. And you, the master of the house, you serve them. You rush to attend to every intruder. You hand over your most precious resource, your attention, without a second thought. You are a miser with your money. You count every coin. You worry about every expense. But with your time, with your focus, with your peace, you are a spendthrift. You throw it away to anyone who asks. To do nothing is to finally close the door. It is to install a lock upon your mind. It is to stand at the threshold as a guard and say, you may not enter. This is why you find it so difficult to stop, because you have forgotten how to say no. You have been trained to believe that availability is a virtue, that to be a good person, you must be reachable, you must be informed, you must be reactive. But nature does not require you to be a receiver of every signal. Nature requires you only to govern your own ruling faculty. When you are constantly doing, constantly reacting to the external world, you are evicting yourself from your own soul. You are living outside of yourself. And a man who lives outside of himself has no home to return to when the storm comes. Let us examine the cost of this constant motion. You believe that by doing more, you are gaining more. You believe that by consuming more information, you are becoming wiser. You believe that by staying busy, you are securing your future. This is a deception. A cup that is already full cannot hold more water. If you pour more into it, it simply spills over. Your mind is the cup. It has a limit. When you fill it with the noise of the world, there is no room left for reason. There is no room left for insight. There is no room left for the appreciation of the life you are actually living. You are eating, but you do not taste the food. You are listening, but you do not hear the words. You are looking, but you do not see. You are a ghost in your own life, haunting the machinery of your daily routine, but never truly inhabiting the moment. To do nothing is to stop the pouring. It is to let the cup empty itself of the sour water, so that it may be filled with something pure. But you fear the emptying. You call it boredom. Boredom is a modern plague, or so you think. In reality, boredom is simply the feeling of raw time. It is the texture of existence when it is not covered by distraction. When you say, I am bored, what you are really saying is, I am uncomfortable with just being. I am uncomfortable with the passing of time unless I am killing it. Think of that phrase, on killing time. It is a violent image, and it is accurate. When you distract yourself to avoid boredom, you are murdering the only life you have. You are wishing for the hour to pass. You are wishing for the day to end. You are wishing for your life to shorten, simply so you do not have to face the stillness. The Stoic does not kill time. The Stoic cherishes it. And the only way to cherish time is to stop rushing through it. To do nothing is to sit and watch the time pass without trying to speed it up. It is to observe the texture of the wall, the play of light on the floor, the rhythm of your own breath. It is to realize that this moment, right here, is not a bridge to somewhere else. It is the destination. There is nowhere else to get to. There is no future moment that will be more real than this one. If you cannot be at peace here, doing nothing, you will not be at peace there, doing everything. You carry your unrest with you. It travels in your luggage. It sits in your passenger seat. It wakes up with you in the new house, in the new job, in the new relationship, because the unrest is you. So, how do we practice this art? How do we reclaim the fortress? It begins with the understanding of urgency. The world tells you that everything is urgent. The phone vibrates urgent. The email arrives urgent. The news breaks urgent. But urgency is almost always an illusion. It is a trick of the mind, or a trick of others who wish to use your mind for their own ends. Ask yourself, what will happen if I do nothing about this right now? In most cases, the answer is nothing. The sun will still rise. The earth will still turn. The problem will likely solve itself, or it will wait until you are ready to address it with a clear head. By reacting instantly, you grant the event power over you. You tell the event, you are the master, I am the servant. When you whistle, I run. To do nothing is to break this chain of command. It is to introduce a pause. The phone rings. You do not answer. You listen to the ring. You remind yourself, I am free to answer, or I am free to abstain. In that pause, you regain your dignity. You are no longer a machine programmed to respond. You are a human being choosing to act or choosing to rest. This applies even to your own internal impulses. You feel a sudden desire to check the news. Stop. Do nothing. Wait. Watch the desire. See it as a wave. It rises. It crests. It crashes. And then it recedes. If you do not act on it, it dies and you remain. Every time you resist the urge to do, every time you choose the stillness over the stimulation, you are strengthening the muscle of self-control. You are polishing the lens of your perception. You are learning that you do not need the world to keep you okay. You are okay in and of yourself. This is the ultimate self-sufficiency, to be able to sit in an empty room and feel no lack. If you can do this, you are richer than a king. A king needs his court, his armies, his jesters, his wine. Take them away, and he is a miserable, lonely man. But the sage, the one who has mastered the art of doing nothing, needs nothing but his own reason. Take away his possessions, and he is whole. Take away his status, and he is whole. Lock him in a dungeon, and he is free. Because his peace does not depend on external motion, it depends on internal order. But you are afraid that if you do nothing, you will fall behind. Behind whom? Behind the others who are running toward the grave. Behind the others who are stressed, anxious, and medicated. Behind the others who have everything, yet possess nothing. To fall behind in a race that leads to madness is a victory. Let them run. Let them scramble for the prizes that rust and decay. You are building something different. You are building a soul that is impervious to fortune. And this building happens in the silence. It happens in the gaps. It happens when you stop. Do not think that this is easy. The art of doing nothing is harder than the art of doing. Doing is easy. It is momentum. Stopping requires force. It requires the courage to face the void. When you stop, the silence is loud. It asks you questions you may not want to answer. Who are you when you are not working? What is your value if you are not producing? What do you truly love? These are dangerous questions. They threaten the fragile identity you have built around your busyness, but they are the only questions that matter. And you can only hear them, and you can only answer them when you stop running away. Let us look deeper into this fear of stopping. Why does the silence feel like a threat? Because you have equated your existence with your struggle. You believe that if you are not fighting, you are failing. You believe that if you are not worrying, you do not care. You have been taught that love is worry, that responsibility is stress, that to be a good parent, a good worker, a good citizen, you must be perpetually exhausted. This is a lie. An exhausted mind is not a virtuous mind. An exhausted mind is brittle. It snaps under pressure. It reacts with anger rather than reason. It makes choices based on relief, not on truth. When you are tired, you are not capable of wisdom. You are only capable of survival. So, when you choose to do nothing, you are not abandoning your duties. You are sharpening the tool with which you perform them. Observe the natural world. Look at the trees. Look at the seasons. Nature does not operate in a permanent state of harvest. There is a time for growth and a time for dormancy. Winter is not a mistake. Winter is not lazy. It is the necessary accumulation of strength for the spring. If the tree attempted to bloom in the dead of winter, it would die. It would have spent its energy at the wrong time, for the wrong reason. You are part of nature. You are not a machine made of metal and silicon, designed to run at maximum capacity until the gears grind to dust. You are a biological, rational entity. You have rhythms. When you ignore these rhythms, when you force yourself to do when your body and mind scream for rest, you are violating nature, and nature cannot be violated without consequence. The consequence is anxiety. The consequence is burnout. The consequence is a life lived in a blur. You must learn to trust the cycles. You must learn that the time spent doing nothing is often when the most important work is being done. It is in the silence that the mind sorts itself. It is in the stillness that the complex problems unravel. It is in the rest that the body repairs the damage of the day. You do not heal a wound by poking at it constantly. You heal it by leaving it alone, by doing nothing to it and letting nature take its course. Your mind is the same. Consider the conflicts in your life, the arguments, the misunderstandings, the tensions with others. Your instinct is to do, to explain, to defend, to force a resolution, to send that last text message, to make that final point. But how often has this frantic doing actually solved the problem? How often has it merely poured oil on the fire? Imagine if, in the heat of the moment, you did nothing. You simply stopped. You held your tongue. You let the other person's anger hang in the air without absorbing it. This is not weakness. This is the ultimate strength. To stand amidst a storm of emotion and remain immovable. To refuse to be dragged into the chaos. To wait until reason returns before you act. This is the power of doing nothing. It transforms you from a leaf blown by the wind into a rock that breaks the wave. The other person may expect a fight. They may expect you to match their volume, to match their frenzy. When you offer them silence, when you offer them a calm, steady gaze, you break the pattern. You force them to hear the echo of their own voice. You give them the space to calm down, even if they do not want it. By doing nothing, you change everything, but you must detach from the outcome. You cannot do nothing as a manipulation tactic. You cannot sit still while secretly hoping that your silence will punish the other person or make them come crawling back. That is not Stoic rest. That is just active aggression disguised as passivity. True doing nothing means you have accepted that the result is out of your hands. You have accepted that you cannot control what they think. You cannot control if they understand you. You cannot control if the project succeeds or fails. You can only control your own alignment with reason, and sometimes reason dictates that there is nothing left to be done. At that point, any further action is just vanity. It is just your ego thrashing about, trying to prove that it exists. Let go. This brings us to the most practical application of this philosophy. How do you integrate this into a day that is full of demands? You do not need to move to a mountaintop. You do not need to become a monk. Stoicism is a philosophy for the marketplace, for the forum, for the battlefield. It begins with the art of the pause. Before every transition in your day, stop. Do nothing for 60 seconds. When you park your car before entering your house, sit. Turn off the engine. Turn off the radio. Do not look at your phone. Just sit. Release the steering wheel. Release the workday. Enter your home as a free person, not a carrier of stress. When you finish a task at work, before opening the next email, stop. Look away from the screen. Let your eyes rest on a fixed point. Breathe. Remind yourself, I am here. These micro moments of doing nothing are the stitches that hold the fabric of your sanity together. They prevent the momentum of stress from building up into an avalanche. You must also practice the discipline of subtraction. Look at your life. Look at the obligations you have taken on. How many of them are essential? How many of them are truly required by nature or duty? And how many are born of vanity, of fear, or of the inability to say no? To do nothing requires that you have less to do. It requires the ruthlessness to cut away the trivial. If you seek tranquility, the philosopher said, do less, or rather, do what is essential, do what is necessary, and do it well. But strip away the rest. Most of what we say and do is not necessary. If you can remove it, you will have more time and less disturbance. Ask yourself constantly, is this necessary? Is this comment necessary? Is this purchase necessary? Is this meeting necessary? Is this worry necessary? If the answer is no, then do nothing. Discard it. Let it float away like a dead leaf. You will feel a resistance. You will feel that you are losing something. You are. You are losing your chains. You are losing the clutter that blocks the light. This is not about being passive. It is about being precise. It is about conserving your energy for the things that truly matter, for your virtue, for your character, for the people you love. If you are always doing, you are diluted. You are spread thin over 1,000 shallow things. When you learn to stop, you become concentrated. You become deep. The water that is contained in the reservoir creates power. The water that is spilled across the desert evaporates and disappears. Be the reservoir. Contain yourself. Hold your peace. Do not let the world drain you dry simply because it shouts for your attention. The world will always shout. That is its nature. Your nature is to listen to reason. And reason often speaks in a whisper you can only hear when you stop. You have spent your life building a monument to your own importance. You believe that if you stop, the monument will crumble. You believe that if you are not constantly maintaining your image, your status, your relevance, that you will cease to exist. This is the root of your restlessness. It is the fear of insignificance. You run because you are trying to outpace your own mortality. You fill every second with noise because you are terrified of the silence of the grave. But listen closely to this truth. You cannot outrun what is already here, and you cannot build a monument that will last. Look at the ruins of the great empires. Look at the forgotten names in the history books. They too believed they were urgent. They too believed the world could not turn without them. They worked, they fought, they stressed, they conquered, and now they are dust, and the world turns without them just fine. This is not a depressing thought, it is a liberating one. If nothing lasts, then there is no pressure to make this moment permanent. There is no pressure to leave a legacy that will stand forever. There is only the duty to live this moment with virtue. To do nothing is to accept your smallness in the grand scheme of the cosmos. It is to look at the stars and realize that your anxieties are microscopic. It is to look at the timeline of the universe and realize that your life is a flicker of a candle. Why waste that flicker in a panic? Why spend your brief time on this earth in a state of frantic distraction? When you accept that you are not the center of the universe, you are finally free to enjoy the universe. You can sit in the garden and just watch the light without feeling the need to photograph it, describe it, or own it. You can listen to a friend without needing to impress them. You can exist without needing to justify your existence. This is the lightness of being that you seek. It does not come from achieving more. It comes from needing less. So, here is the final integration. How do you carry this stillness into a world that demands your motion? You carry it as a secret. Outwardly, you may be active. You may go to work. You may raise your family. You may solve problems. To the observer, you look like a participant in the world. But inwardly, you are at rest. You move, but you are not moved by things. You act, but you are not attached to the fruit of the action. You speak, but you are comfortable with silence. You have created a separation between your role and your soul. Your role is the costume you wear. It is the character you play on the stage of life. The character worries. The character strives. The character deals with money and reputation. But you, the ruling faculty, the observer within, you are watching the play from the quiet of the audience. You are not on the stage. You are safe in the dark. You know that when the curtain falls, the character's troubles end. So you play the part well, with dignity and honor, but you do not mistake the play for reality. This is the ultimate form of doing nothing, to be in the world, but not of it, to possess the chaos, but not be possessed by it. It takes time to build this capacity. You will fail. You will find yourself swept away by anger, by desire, by the rush of the crowd. Do not judge yourself. Judgment is just more noise. Simply notice it. I have been running again. I have been stirring the mud. And then stop. Return to the breath. Return to the present. Return to the fortress. The gates are always open for you. Peace is not a destination you reach once and stay forever. Peace is a choice you make in every single moment. Right now, as you listen to this, you have a choice. You can rush to the next video. You can rush to the comments. You can rush to your tasks. Or you can just sit for 10 seconds, for 1 minute. Just sit. Feel the weight of your body against the chair. Feel the air entering your lungs. Realize that right now, in this exact second, there is no problem. There is no danger. There is no demand. You are alive, you are conscious, and that is enough. Let the world spin. Let the others run. Let the noise rise and fall like the tides of a distant ocean. You are the shore, fixed, ancient, enduring. Do not be afraid of the emptiness, for in the emptiness, you find yourself. And when you find yourself, you find that you need nothing else. Rest in this. Rest in the knowledge that you have control over the only thing that matters, your own mind. Everything else is borrowed. Everything else is temporary. Everything else is noise. Let it go. Be still. Peace comes from holding only what belongs to you and releasing what never did.